Decided to critique, I guess I could say. The movie I decided to critique was Scarface, and it stars Al Pacino. To give you a brief overview of the movie, Al Pacino was like a Cuban refugee. I guess they sent a bunch of like criminals from Cuba to America, like to give him a restart. And when he got here, he was like a regular immigrant. He was working like a regular 9 to 5 job. He didn't have any money. He really came from the gutter. Him and I think it was his cousin or his best friend. And that's kind of hard coming from nothing and then coming to America like a land opportunity. He got bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, if I want to call it, and he wanted to get an opportunity, so he found a connect. There was a connect that told him, like, if you want to get with me, all I need you to do is kill somebody so I can test your loyalty. So he went and he killed that man, and then he met with the drug dealer guy. The drug dealer guy actually had someone send to him, to Scarface, to talk to him and say, like, hey, if you do this, you get $5,000. It was a setup, but he doesn't know that at first. So he goes to the place to exchange the drugs, and when he goes to exchange the drugs, the guy kidnapped him and like his friend that was with him, and he had two other people outside. Two other people outside were looking at all these pretty women because, like I said, they come from the gutter, they come from Cuba. Now you're in Miami, and so all these beautiful women on the beach with bikinis and stuff, so they get distracted. And then Al Pacino, he gets kidnapped, and I guess the two guys from outside, they end up coming up to the hotel room because it's been a long time. He should have just got the drugs, exchanged the money, and came back. So what he does is he's getting kidnapped, and one of the guys getting hung up and chainsaw, and they cut him up. So then they're gonna cut up Al Pacino, but the boys come from the car and they come to help him, and so he knew it was a setup. And so then he goes and talks to the guy who's gonna supply him with the drugs, and he basically told him like, hey, I survived it, So that showed how strong Scarface was. So then Scarface ends up getting into the game. He goes to meet the big distributor named Sosa. When he goes to meet Sosa like does background checks on people that comes to visit him. That's why he's like the top dog, because he's like, I gotta know who I'm dealing with. So the guy that Scarface went to Bolivia to go see Sosa with actually was back in New York many years ago. He was a federal agent, and so what he did was he did the background check on him, and he ended up killing him. And then when he killed him, Sosa was just like, hey, I did this check on this man. He's no good. How do I know that you're good? So then Scarface basically tells him like, hey, I don't got nothing in this world but my balls and my word, and I don't break that for anybody. He said like, I'm a true refugee from Cuba, out of the gutter. Like, I don't got nothing to lie about. I'm not a police or anything. So that gets him credibility with like in the drug game. So the man that brought Scarface, that brought him in, he also was the one that set him up. Him and Scarface aren't seeing eye to eye now because Scarface is like plugged in with Big Sosa, who's like the top distributor. So it's kind of, instead of Scarface, being like the middleman, now he's the man. And his boss doesn't like that because that's cutting into his money. So Scarface ends up going off on his own and just building up money, and he's still working with his boss, but he's building up some money on his own too. Then his boss decides that he doesn't really like the way Scarface moves. So Scarface was like, well, okay, that's okay. I don't like the way you move either. So he's trying to do his own thing now. Scarface also does like his boss's wife, and he talked to his wife and said, hey, soon you're gonna be mine because your man's not gonna last. So he time goes on and Scarface becomes the man, and his boss tried to kill him. He set him up in a club and tried to kill him. And So yeah, he also meets his sister. He has a sister, and his mother lived in America. So when he came back, it's been 5 years, and he wanted to get some money and get on his feet before he went to go visit them. But he goes to visit them in America, and I guess the mom, she knows that he's a big time drug dealer and everything. So she just says, forget it, like get out. I don't want nothing to do with you. I've been doing good without you for this long. But his sister loves him a lot, and his sister, she's just like Tony, Scarface, but his name is Tony Montana in the movie. But she said, Tony, I love you, and just keep in touch with me so we can still stay close, because they're related. And so he gives her like $1,000 and just says, take care of yourself. Okay, but now back to the story. So yeah, Scarface, he ends up killing his boss because his boss set him up. His boss, one day Tony went to the club with his friend, and his boss decides to send some hitters there to kill him because he's like, you know what, me and Tony don't work together anymore. Tony's doing his own thing. He's making more money than me. Doesn't work out. Tony ends up escaping. He goes to find his boss, and he says, hey, first he goes to his people, and he says, at 3 o'clock, I want you to call Frank's number. Frank is Tony's boss. I want you to call Frank's number, and I want you to say, hey, you fucked up. And when he gets there, the boss is in there with the DEA agent, and he's just like, Tony comes in, and he's like, you fucked me. And the guy, he acted like he didn't do it and everything, and then the phone rings. As when the phone rings, Tony knows what the person's going to say. And he tells Frank, like, hey, Frank, answer the phone. Frank doesn't want to answer it. But then Tony says, I'll answer it. Frank's like, no, it's okay, I'll answer it. He answers the phone, and they say, hey, we fucked up. And the man just says, oh, it's okay, yeah, everything's all right. Hangs up the phone and acts like it was his wife talking to him. Tony says, you played me. I know you played me. Because he knew what the phone call was, and Frank acted like it was nothing. So he ends up killing Frank. So Tony Montana, he kills Frank, and Frank's dead and gone. So now Tony Montana's the man, and he's the main. He goes through the main connect with Sosa. And so to try to sum up the story, he ends up, he's selling cocaine, but he ends up becoming a heavy user of it. And his wife, who used to be his boss's wife, also uses a lot of cocaine. So when he gets real stressed out or something's not going good and stuff, he just keeps going to the powder, and eventually it ends up altering his mindset and makes him like very angry and stuff. So a lot of mishaps and stuff happen in between the middle of the movie and the end of the movie where I'm getting to. And to sum it up, I mean, him and his wife and his best friend went out to dinner one time, and they got into a big argument, and he basically said, I got a junkie for a wife, and she ends up trying to leave him, and then his Sosa gives Tony Montana a job to do, and it's to kill one of these. It's an American man who is trying to warn the public about drug use. So he ends up trying to go kill the man, but Tony said he doesn't kill kids, or he doesn't kill women or kids. He only kills the man. The man ended up picking up his wife and his kids. So when he was supposed to Tony didn't kill him, and the man ended up giving us the speech about the distributor and all these people, giving him a bad rep. So Sosa was kind of pissed off about that, and he told Tony, like, hey, you're supposed to kill him, and now everybody knows, and he's giving us a bad name, and they found the bomb under the car, so they know that we're trying to come get him. We messed up. So, and then on the other side, Tony, when he went to go do that killing, his best friend was gone, and his sister was missing. See, but his best friend and his sister always had a thing for each other, but Tony said no, like, can't mix pleasure and business. When he comes back from that trip, from supposed to kill that man, he goes to find his sister. His sister is at his best friend's mansion, and he didn't even know that that his best friend had a mansion. But the best friend opens the door, and he's talking to Tony like, "What's up?" And he's just like, "Where you been?" And then down comes the stairs. You see his sister Gina, Tony Montana's sister Gina, in a robe, naked. And so then Tony, he shoots his best friend. Then he grabs his sister and takes her to his house. Well, he takes her to his house, and he gets right back to the powder because he's so stressed out and he's just snorting up a whole bunch. And his anger is just all over the place. Like, he didn't even mean to shoot him. Like, he thought that the best friend took his sister to just have sex with her, but really they got married and they were waiting to surprise him. So his behavior got in his outburst, his anger got in the way of him even finding out that news. He probably wouldn't have killed his best friend. And then also, he's very like impulsive. Like, he doesn't know how to like process things with his brain. He just goes, and that's from the coke. The coke does that. It drives his emotions. So he does stuff out of impulse. He doesn't even think before he does stuff. So he just shot his best friend. He snatched up his sister. Like, he's killing. He wouldn't kill this person, but he killed like one of Sosa's men that was supposed to help him kill the guy that's delivering the speech about their drug business. So he's not able to think when he's on cocaine. But keep the story going. So his sister ends up coming in like, well, she comes in naked with no clothes on, and he's just like, "What are you doing?" She's just like, "Well, you killed your best friend, my husband, and you killed another man that I tried to be with. So you must want me." But then she ends up having a gun in her hand. She starts shooting at him. He's like, "What are you doing? Stop! What are you doing?" She's like, "Well, come on. Do you want me? You want me?" Little does Tony Montana know, there's a security camera in his house, but you can see that there are people, like, there's probably like 30 people that's coming into his house, infiltrating his house, getting ready to kill him. It's Sosa's men because, he was supposed to do a job for Sosa, didn't do the job for Sosa. So, the sister's shooting at him, and then out of nowhere, you just see a bunch of shots coming in, and his sister gets shot up. And it was a guy, it was one of Sosa's men who was shooting into the house. He ends up shooting up Gina, who is Tony Montana's sister. Tony Montana knocks him out, shoots him, and then he looks on a security camera. He sees there's 30 people and his house got overtook. Long story short, he goes to the cabinet, he gets his gun, he tells his sister everything's going to be all right, and he said he's going to come back for her. She's already dead. And that's where the famous scene comes out. He got a big bazooka in his gun. He says, "Say hello to my little friend." He blows up his lobby because there's like maybe 15 people in the lobby. And there's another 15 scattered out outside the house. He blows it up, has a big shootout, 1 against 30 men. He has the shootout. Long story short, I mean, it doesn't work out in his favor. He kills a lot of men. I would say he killed maybe 18 men. 1 against 30 people, and you kill 18 of them, that's a good ratio. Excuse me. But he ends up killing 18 men, and then there's just too many of them. They start shooting him, and he eats those bullets. I mean, he's getting shot up everywhere, and he's just eating it. He's saying, "You can't kill me. Like, I'm Tony Montana. You can't kill me." One of the men comes out from behind him. He doesn't know he's sneaking up on him. Shoots him, boom. Ends Tony Montana, he's dead. And really, the lesson of that movie is greed. Because his boss, Frank, told him, the only people that survive in this business are people that fly straight. And greed has you flying all different ways because you're trying to take everybody's everything. You're not flying straight. You're not focused. So that movie teaches you about greed. And it also teaches you about how cocaine alter your mind state, and it really drove everyone's lives down because his wife was a junkie. She doesn't do nothing but sleep all day, get her hair fixed up, and powder her nose, and it would make her delusional, and she had mood swings and everything. And then with him, in his instance, he did the cocaine, and when he was really stressed out, he kept just snorting and snorting and snorting. He ended up not being able to think straight. He didn't kill that man that was he was supposed to kill for Sosa because I guess his mind was getting to him about killing wives and kids. When you're in that game, you can't think about killing wives and kids. You have to do the job that you were meant to do. And then also he killed his best friend just because of the impulse. Cocaine just had his impulses going. ended up killing his best friend without even processing what was going on first because he saw his sister there. He didn't even ask for explanation. And then at the end, when he got into that big shootout, I mean, he had like a pound of cocaine on his thing and was just going through the whole thing. Maybe if he wasn't snorting cocaine, he would have been able to look at his security camera that he just bought. He got this crazy surveillance. He could have looked at his surveillance and he would have seen those men coming. He could have had people prepared, or he could have found a way out of it or something, you know? Just it took his mind off of a lot of things. Okay, so now with the question. So what symptoms are present? I would say he's an addict. So I mean, I don't know how I can put that in the word of symptoms, but he was definitely a cocaine addict because without it he couldn't, like, I guess his stress would get to him too much, or I don't know, but he needed it. It was something that he needed because he kept going for it, kept going for it, kept going for it. Maybe it was driving him to be able to do all these things he was doing, like killing people and all this stuff. And I definitely think he deals with bipolar disorder because I mean he flips the script so fast. 1 second he's chill, he's calm, or he's laughing, and the next flips like a switch, and I mean he just goes off the leash. Like, you can have a civilized conversation with him, and then one little thing could tick him off, and he just goes off. I think those two things are like the biggest symptoms that I see. How does or does not the character meet criteria for mental illness? I think he meets the criteria. I mean, I don't know if you want me to get technical, like with the DSM-5 and stuff, but I think he meets the criteria because, hey, like, just for instance, if I have a normal conversation for you and then boom, I flip the switch and I'm screaming at you, I think you can tell that's bipolar disorder. I mean, without even having to look too deep into it, you can just see the signs of it, the behavior. What related issues and challenges are present? Well, the main challenge is the fact that he can't set cocaine down in order to process his thoughts and to think before he acts. He takes cocaine and just goes off, goes willy-nilly, start doing what he does instead of, if he wouldn't have used cocaine, he would have been able to sit back and think like, okay, maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that, maybe I should go about it this way, maybe I should go about it that way. And what challenges are present? I would say he's fighting himself in a way. Like, I think his main problem was greed. I mean, that's what I take from this movie is greed. Like, he was so greedy that he wouldn't. I guess he felt invincible. He thought he was the man. He thought he thought he was untouchable, basically. And that's what the drug did to him. It made him feel invincible. So that's the biggest thing about that drug. It made him feel invincible. He wasn't able to think before he act, because if he wasn't on the drug, he wouldn't feel invincible. He knows he could be touched. He knows that he's not the top dog. He would have been able to process this, and probably would have been able to escape or save his life, or did things different that could have made things better for him. But he thought he was untouchable. He thought he was invincible. So he just went off the leash, and he thought one man could do it all by himself, which he can't. No one person can do everything by themselves. And yeah, so that was the movie Scarface. That personally, that's my favorite movie. And when I saw it on the Abnormal Psychology box office, I'm like, wow, if I'm able to do that, I would love to do that. So I rewatched it, and I seen a couple things that I didn't really notice the first time, or maybe I did notice. It just refreshed because I haven't seen it like that. I've probably seen it like a couple months ago, or maybe last year or something. But it's one of my favorite movies. But I really think that movie teaches you a lot about life, and it teaches you a lot of life lessons. That greed is never good. Fly straight. Drug abuse, it does not help your mental mind state. It may have you doing things that you're not even expecting that you're doing, or it may have you doing things that you will regret later on. The third thing is you're not invincible, and that's also can go with the drug abuse, because him constantly using that drug made him feel invincible. He wasn't in reality. He was in a different world. He was in a fantasy world, I guess, because he thought one person could kill 30 people. I give it to him. He did kill 18 people. I don't know if it was 18. I'm just saying, like, It may have been like 50 to 30. I don't know. I should say it looked like 30 people killed 18. But I mean, come on, you could have fled that scene. Could have saved your sister and a couple of your buddies. and also with Sosa, I mean, he's the top man in the world with cocaine. And you thought that you could go to war with it because he said that. He said, if you want war with me, we can go to war. I don't kill kids and this and that. I mean, he's your boss now, bro, and you kind of got to do what he says. You kind of got to do what he says. So it is what it is. But that's my little podcast. Hope you enjoyed it.